Hello, this is Bernard West talking again about my perfect life. Again, I'll mention I have 15 siblings, brothers and sisters, and I normally want to kind of keep it light. There's a lot of things that are really funny and interesting and sometimes sad in the family, but I wanted to talk about something very serious on this one. I won't hopefully take any more than about 8 or 9 minutes, but what I want to talk about really changed my life. And let me tell you why. I have a brother who's gone now, but his name was Robert Hendry West. Robert was 3 years older than me. We call him Bobby. And he was 3 years older, and he always looked out for me. He was my best friend. Right when I was going to middle school, going to high school, kind of growing up. And he always helped me out in all types of ways. And I'll tell you one of them is, I hope it's not blacked out because of what happened. But anyhow, he helped me in a lot of different ways. And something very serious happened between me and him that changed my whole life and how I even think. And it disturbs me all the time when I think about him. The last time we talked, I had words with Bobby, and then he died right after that. So I showed him my anger, and a few after Christmas, he passed away, and that changed my whole life on what the subject was and how my life went forward. Bobby was 3 years older than me, and as I mentioned, when the day after I graduated from high school, I left home and I went to Washington, tried to get a job with a high school education. You can't get much. And so Bobby, who lived in Kansas at the time, he was in the military, Air Force. He was at Forbes Air Force Base in Topeka, Kansas. Said, "Hey, come live with me. I get you a job on the base. You can go to a university called Washburn University at night, and you can get your life together because you can't do nothing with high school. And then, if you want to, why don't you join the military in the Air Force?" He said, "It's really wonderful, and it's my career." And so I got on a Greyhound bus, and 21 hours later, I'm in Kansas. Now remember, I'm just out of high school. And so when I first get there, Bobby, he takes me out. And, even though I'm not even eligible to drink or anything, he had places he could take me. And we would drink. Now, Kansas was a dry state. So a lot of these places you have to take your own booze there. I don't know whether Kansas is still dry today, but it was what they call a dry state. So when you go to these clubs, they take your bottles, put your names on them. So every time you want a drink, they just give you the drink out of that. So when I first got there, he asked me a question. He said, "Bernard, are you still a virgin?" And I went, "Bobby, come on, man, get out of here. You know, I'm 17 years old. He said, "Are you a virgin?" I said, "Yep." So he said, "Okay, cool out." So the next day, he takes me over to this girl's house, somebody he knows, and she takes me in the bedroom, and that was my first sexual experience. That my brother did that for me. Think about that. It was just unbelievable. But I thought the girl liked me because we talked about 15 or 20 minutes before. So after that incident of having sex, the next day I asked Bobby, "Can I have her phone number? I want to take her out to lunch or dinner." So he said, "Are you nuts?" I said, "No, I like her." He said, "No, no, 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 no." He said, "That was a one-off thing. I asked her to do me a favor for my younger brother, and that was a favor, and that's it. She don't want to see you anymore." I said, "Oh my God, I never heard anything like that before." But that's the kind of guy he was with me, and always was looking out for me. Well, time went by. I joined the service, and I went down to join the Air Force in Kansas City, and as soon as I got there, they said, "Yeah, okay, we're gonna give you some tests and everything else." And let me tell you what excuse me, I'm drinking some coffee. Let me tell you how I worked. He committed for 4 years. I said, "Whoa, no, 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 no. I thought it was only like 2 or 3 years max." He said, "No, it's 4 years." I said, "Well, I don't want to tie my life up for 4 years." And he said, "Well, you get free education when you leave and all of that." I said, "No." He said, "Well, then you got to join the army." they got a 3-year program. So I did. I wound up joining the Army. And to be honest with you, that's how I got my first my college degree. My first one, the Army paid for everything, my books and my education. So I got to give a lot to the Army. And I did love the Army, by the way. I wanted to stay in, but as I'm not sure if I mentioned in some of the other videos, I was in Vietnam. And I was in Vietnam really early before they even started fighting a lot. I was there in 1965, early 65. And for 6 months, I'm laying on the beach in Quinine drinking Bomb de Bomb, which was the beer. And until the first cab came, nobody even tried to shoot at me. And then when they came, people started shooting and everything. They offered me a few $100 to stay for 6 more months. I said, no, no, no. And they transferred me to Colorado, Cheyenne Mountain, Colorado Springs. Loved it there, loved it. But I wanted to stay in, but Colonel Calder told me, Bernard, you can't. That war's going to go on. You're going to find your butt right back in Vietnam if you stay in. So I mustered out. But back to Bobby. So I do the service and everything. I get out. I'm about 22 years old, 23. I get married right away. I get married right away as soon as I get back home. I think I'm like 21 years old. And so 21, 67. I'm 21 when I get out and I get a job working for a bank and what have you. And, just barely making ends meet. I had my first child, which was Heather. And to save up for Christmas, I got something like a Christmas club. I'm not sure if they have them now, but you get a little booklet. And every week you put $1, $5, $10 or whatever. And I used to put money in it every week. And then they take the coupon. And then around Thanksgiving, before Thanksgiving, they send you a check. And that's how you saved up so you can buy Christmas stuff and everything. It was called a Christmas club at the bank. And I always had one every year because, I was living from paycheck to paycheck in those days. And because Teresa, who was my first wife, was home, taking care of a new baby. And I was living the paycheck to paycheck. Well, my brother Bobby was stationed in Virginia at that time. And he called me up in October and said, Bernard, I'm desperate, man. I need some money to pay rent. I said, I ain't got no money, man. I'm broke. I said, I live from payday to payday. He said, you can't come up with anything? I said, well, I do have this Christmas club, and I can cash it out early. I think it's worth about, I don't know, $1,100 right now. I think I used to get like $1,500 at Thanksgiving, about a couple of days before Thanksgiving. Then I give the money to Teresa. She do the shopping for the presents and what have you. So I said, I got this Christmas club. I said, but man, if I cash that in, you got to pay me back, in November sometime. He said, man, guarantee, no problem. I'll pay you back, I swear. So I cashed the club in. Naturally, I'm not telling Teresa or anything. I cashed the club in. I gave him I think it was like $1,000 or $1,100. So first week in November comes, second week, third week, now Thanksgiving coming. And I called Bobby and said, Bobby, I need that money, man. Kathy normally goes, right after Thanksgiving, something they used to call Black Friday. They probably still do. And I need to get rid of that money. He said, no, I don't have it, man. I'm sorry. I said, when you have it? He said, I'll look into something. I'll try it maybe next week. Next week I called. No money. First week of December, no money. Second week of December, no money. Third week. And I'm saying, Bobby, what's going on? Sometimes he wouldn't even take my call. That's how bad it was. And I was really upset with him. And at that point, when we get into the third week of December, Christmas is like a week and a half away. I go to Teresa's mother and I say, look, I messed up this year. I don't have the money for toys or anything. Can I borrow, $300, $400? And she said, no problem, Bernard. And I think I asked her not to tell Teresa, but she probably did. Because Teresa did act a little strange, but, she was always a good mother and a good person. And the problem is I don't think we ever argued enough. So anyhow, I got the $300 or $400 and I didn't tell her about the Bobby thing. I told her I used the money for something else and I gave her the $400 or whatever her mother gave me. But then after Christmas, it was probably almost the beginning of the year. Let me see if I have the dates here. It was the beginning of January. I called Bobby and I said, Bobby, you really let me down. I said, I can't believe you did that. I said, I'm so upset with you. And I said some words. I don't remember what they were, but they weren't good words. And I don't know what to say. I just don't know what to say, Bobby. You really screwed my Christmas up. And that's when I hung up on him. And towards the end of January that year, I get a call from a hospital. Evidently, he had put me at the list for contact. That's how close we were. And he had, he smoked a lot, and he drank too, but he smoked a lot, and he had pneumonia, something called walking pneumonia. His lungs filled with liquid. Went to a clinic. They didn't have the breathing machine. By the time they got him to a regular hospital, he was brain dead. And the last words I had was about money with him. And so naturally, I was the first one down there, and they wanted to pull the plug. And I said, no, 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 no. Keep this man alive. Let my mom come down and everybody else. So, they came down and everything. And we told them what had happened. But that transaction did something to me. I think I was 22 years old. To that point on in my life, money had never been important to me. Never. And to this day, I still ask him for forgiveness. I'm not sure if you can see this. This here is his tomb, and he's buried in Arlington. He was in Vietnam twice. I was in Vietnam once. He was in Vietnam twice. And he was my best friend ever. And thinking about the last words over money to this day disturbs me. So my whole life after that, when we get into some other things, I'll show you all the organizations I belong to, the nonprofits and stuff like that. Money never made a difference to me. And if I gave somebody some money, it was never a loan. I never lent money to anybody, never. I said, here, don't pay me back. It's a gift. And if they say, oh, no, it's a loan and everything, I said, well, you consider whatever you want, but I don't care. I'm not looking for it because I think as Shakespeare said, nor borrower nor lender be, because a loan oftentimes losing yourself and a friend, losing your money and a friend. And that changed my life. And as we go through the series of my perfect life and the things that I've been involved in and done, you'll see as it relates to money, I never cared about giving people money, using money for the benefit of others, and never expect a pat on the back or anything back. And I still think about my brother, Robert Henry West, all the time. And for a lot of years, I visited Arlington Cemetery and asked him for forgiveness. Thank you.